Hello and welcome to the webinar on improving driver safety. My name is Richard York and I am the Strategic Accounts Director here at GreenRoad. Our guest today works for one of London's largest bus operators, employing over 3,000 drivers, driving more than 1,000 buses every day in one of the world's busiest capital cities. I'm delighted to say that GreenRoad are a proud partner to RATP Dev, and I'm even more delighted to welcome the Chief Operating Officer of RATP Dev, Nigel Wood. Good morning, Nigel.
Good morning, Richard. Nice to join you.
Thank you very much, sir. I'm going to ask Nigel a series of questions today, but before I do, I would very much like to welcome Nigel and ask you, Nigel, to give us a little bit of background on yourself, please.
Okay, so I'm the Chief Operating Officer for RATP Dev Transit London. Been in the post since April last year. Before that, I worked for another operator and got nearly 30 years experience now in the regulated bus market in London. But in addition to that, I've had some secondments in the deregulated market and spent some time in Singapore after helping out in the bid and successfully delivering Go Ahead Singapore creation, employing 1,000 people within 9 months. That was a great learning curve for me. So I've been given plenty of opportunities in my career, starting out as a bus driver in 1995. There's a bit of a stopgap. I need a bit of money. Let me find a little job until I find a proper job. And this little proper job I've been doing for 30 years. So thank you for your welcome. Looking forward to some tricky questions.
What would you say if you had to give everyone three sort of key lessons you learned during your career? They don't necessarily, sometimes we learn from a negative, but what would you say are three key lessons you've learned during that 30 years?
Everything you do should be safe and legal. That's the first one. Always put your people first. So your staff or your customers is the second thing. And an old saying a boss of mine used to say, if you're not living on the edge, you're taking up too much space. So it's a bit about pushing boundaries, challenging yourself, challenging the business to eke the best out. But don't forget your people, both within the industry, a good cross section of society, all different levels of learning. They're not robots. They're all great people, and obviously the customers. You know, what do the customers want? And making sure that you're delivering that. And if your people are happy and it's safe and it's legal and you're living on the edge, then you're in the right place, I feel.
Yeah. Okay, thanks. Now, sort of moving forward to driver safety, what would you say is the kind of pillars of the driver safety strategy at RATP Dev?
We spent quite a bit of time this year looking at ways of always improving driver safety. It has many areas. So we always say that the training school gets somebody in and they train them to drive a bus and pass a test. And it's the garage's job to make them bus drivers. And we have a really good, successful program called Garage Life, where whilst they're waiting in between various parts of waiting for this result or waiting for their theory test to come back or whatever, we start involving them in Garage Life. They go out, they meet the drivers, they go out on the routes, learn a little bit about how the garage works and performs, the different parts of the business and how it works. And then they get to understand before they go and do route learning or type training that actually there are different types of buses. They do drive differently. And also we have routes which are easy routes, some are long routes, some are short routes. And what we try to do is profile the drivers pretty quickly. I was really rubbish at route learning. I could not remember a route, like I can't remember lines. I was pretty rubbish at that. So a nice straightforward route for me that turns around at one end and turns around at the other, nice long one. It was my favourite one. But we have a lot of routes that go through communities and it's left, right, left, right. I don't know how they do it. So credit to them. But so therefore, one of the first threads is to make sure you've got the right driver on the right route with the right skills. That's very important. And then monitoring what they're doing. So we have 1 million passengers a year who sort of sometimes write in if it's not going well, and we can analyse those complaints and commendations to find out who's doing good, who's doing bad. Obviously, we have accident records, and then we've got other data that we can get from Mystery Shopper, Mystery Traveller. TfL do a lot of auditing of us in London, and we sort of put that all together in a sort of profile. And obviously, we use GreenRoad to provide us with key KPI stuff. We sort of put that all in a package, and it gives us a bit of a driver profile so we can target correctly, help some with some additional training. So we have to understand why accidents are happening, when they're likely to happen, the risk profile goes up. So there's a lot of work going on in the industry, both coach and lorry and bus, to try and get improved driver standards, to look at all the bits and pieces. So there's lots going on, and it doesn't stop. Technology comes into the picture as well, the use of different technologies, cameras, etc. So we're using all that.
So, Nigel, a very, very important question from GreenRoad's perspective, and one I'm delighted to ask you. What made RATP Dev decide to choose GreenRoad as the technology partner for driver safety telematics?
Well, I've got an easy answer for you there. I've got a toolbox of tools for my managers and for myself. And the toolbox didn't have some smart gear in it. GreenRoad provided a solution. It provided us with a really good tool that enabled the drivers to be able to look and adapt their driving, and it allowed the managers to look at the driving standards within the garage and try to work out with little projects and all that on how to enhance those scores that they got. Bit of friendly competition. So it was a smart tool for us.
Oh, great, thanks. And so that's from you've mentioned the managers there. Has there been quite a big impact on the management team? So I understand directly it affects the drivers the moment they get in the bus. Have you seen a positive outcome with the managers using the GreenRoad tool as well?
So to be honest, when they first started seeing it, it's changed and it's, oh, this is another load of work and all like this. But as we both know, having experience, it's a very easy to use dashboard. And so the experience that you've bought and as you've developed the product, and the dashboard is very simple to use. And so therefore, if it says 10, it's 10. And then you click down, find who it is and all like that. So it's very easy to use product. And so therefore, very simple to use, very good tool.
And did you have, were there many challenges rolling GreenRoad out across the fleet?
I don't think so. I think obviously your experience and your team's experience in rolling it out in many locations helped. We had some individuals that had rolled GreenRoad out before, so they were aware of it, people that had come into our RATP Dev. But it went really smoothly, so we knew what needed to do. We had the phases all marked out, and yes, it was successfully rolled out. But I'd expect nothing less from you, Richard, and your team.
It was I know that it's, sometimes not every driver kind of appreciates that coaching. And I think, to be honest, it's kind of like some of the message is I've heard your guys give have just been so good in terms of like reminding the guys that it's there to help them get home safe more than more than anything else. And we know by them doing that action, there's positive benefits for RATP Dev, the customers, the expensive asset they're driving, that kind of thing. And I think some of those things are great. And the further we get away from any negatives and the drivers appreciating that it's something to help keep them safe and it's part of the offering on their welfare, the easier it is. And I think that was done really well.
But I think it also helps like track movements when people drive different vehicles. As you know, in the industry, there's a lot of electric buses coming on the market and they drive differently. And the bus industry is a little bit, a bit of a dinosaur. We've always done it this way. We've always trained drivers this way. And so we train drivers on a single deck or double deck bus. They pass their test. And then we start putting them into buses with mirrorless buses with cameras at the side. They're electric, the torque's different, and we're getting them to drive completely different and then allowing them to put 85 passengers on there. So anybody that's not doing anything or being aware of that is it's going to be financially penalizing for them. So it's a little bit is getting it right the first time and looking at that. So when somebody starts to struggle to drive, GreenRoad is another one of those tools that says, hang on a minute, you need to go and have a chat with this bloke or this lady. And it was like, it was Tuesday last week. So what were they doing? Oh, they were on an unusual route. They were driving a different type of bus. They've been type trained on it. And then you talk to them, they go, oh, I wasn't really sure. I couldn't find this switch. I couldn't adjust the seat and all that. So then you go back and review the training with the training supervisors and say, this happened. How can we learn? How can we get that message across? And so we started a process of producing some short little videos so drivers can just click onto Blink is an app we use, and they can just click
Yeah.
on that and it just says how to adjust your seat. So they haven't got to be embarrassed. Some people are embarrassed going to ask the question. You know, most men, and I can say that being one, that I never read the instructions, so I will move everything about until I'm half comfortable. You do see drivers like this or forward or whatever, so in the cab. But so having some sort of like communication that says that, and you find that as well from the results as well. So you might see a bit of poor driving, I couldn't adjust the seat and all like that. So it enables you to go back and review your training and how you're making people feel engaged when they're with you.
I think if you can communicate with your drivers like that, it really does give them a level of confidence that you're on their side. It's not us v them.
So I think engagement's really important. They use the app. They can look at their GreenRoad score, and you see them in the canteen going, "What's your score this week?" "Oh, my score's better. I'm a better driver than you." But I think engagement as a tool is great. Blink is really good. Driver went on there and said, "Oh, the announcements are not working.
Yeah,
Bus
yeah, yeah.
station's open," and things that I quickly picked up on that message, rang up TfL. This is happening, and it takes a bit of time to do that. So we encourage the drivers to make some announcements. They've switched it all off now, so it's silent as you go towards the bus station. But that's all proactive, and then the drivers go, I'll put a message on there. Chief Operating Officer has read it. He's rung up TfL. The problem's been solved, and you're responding to them. So that's a plus side. So then you encourage more comments. So I like all that stuff.
And talking to an Australian CEO who runs one of the big bus companies down in Sydney. He said I need everyone to drive safely because I'm a decent human and that's what we need to survive as a business. But I also need it to be punctual. And one of the great questions that is how do you personally balance that between the safety of the drivers and the passengers, and also the requirement for them to operate correctly and to time to be punctual?
So effective scheduling is the answer. So making sure you give them sufficient time to run the route. And we get a lot of data from we're data-rich society now, but we get data. So I could, if a driver said to me, that 3:30 trip from Trafalgar Square is, I'm always finishing late and I am having a rush and break the speed limit, etc., etc. I can run that trip for the last 3 months through a computer and it'd give me the average running time for that route. And if it's
Yeah,
deficient, I can go back to TfL or change it myself to put the running time in. So we're evaluating our routes all the time with TfL. And if there's issues, we talk to TfL about putting mitigation in. So robust scheduling and then putting mitigation in should you suffer from traffic or roadworks or emergency works, whatever, to give the drivers time. We're pretty fortunate in London that we have high frequency routes, and high frequency routes are routes that come every 10 minutes, 8 minutes, 6 minutes in some cases. And so you're only waiting every 6 minutes for a bus rather
yeah.
than being on time. So on time is a different kettle of fish. And we don't have a lot of them in London, but mainly on the outskirts we do. But most of our routes are what they call high frequency routes. So as a passenger, you should expect a bus every 6 minutes.
How are you using safety data to drive operational decisions? So how do you sort of blend the two of using that critical data with operational decisions you have to make as well?
So that's a very good question. I think for me, we have struggled in the industry because in the past, in London Transport and subsequently in the companies, we had different managers. So we might have a manager that deals with complaints, one that's dealing with accidents, and one manager that's dealing with GreenRoad, for example. And the three never met. And so therefore, the driver could go in and go, "Oh, your accident is really poor." He goes next door, "Oh, I need to talk to you because your attendance, you've obviously clearly got issues and I'm going to give you a written warning." And he goes into the thing. What we need to do is join that up. And I think one of the issues that I challenge, and you know this yourself, is I like to challenge the software providers to look at what they're doing and making sure that we grow together. This is not the finished product. What we need to do is enhance what we're all providing, um, but with the right data. We got so much data coming in. As the example I give of how many trips that we've got, I can run if there's a shortage of time, I can find that out. I can do basically anything. When I joined in 1995, somebody that talked me into becoming a bus driver said to me, "The good thing about driving a bus, Nigel, is that when it's hot, you'll be warm. When it's cold, when it's raining, you're in a nice warm environment. You're your own boss. You're out there and you're just driving around. It's really nice." And there were some little tricks that used to go round and round the roundabout because you didn't want the bloke in front to, be picking all the passengers up and all that. So, but today, we have to tell our new entrants that we can see when they're pressing the accelerator, when they're pressing the brake, when they're putting the indicator on left, when they're putting it on. We know the state of the battery charging on electric buses. We know the rate they're using it. We know harsh acceleration, harsh braking. We know so much. And I think we got to a point now where I wouldn't say we've got data saturation, but we have got a problem where we've got loads of data and it's finding out what we need and putting them all in the right boxes. So our toolbox becomes a smart toolbox. So actually, in an ideal world, we get an email that says, "Nigel, you need to go and speak to this manager because I've noticed," and this could be AI of the future, no, "you need to talk to this driver because this is happening."
Moving on to customer experience, you touched upon it there. In regards to customer experience, how do you see driver safety fit in to the customer experience, uh, particularly in London?
Well, I think, as you know, we've alluded to passengers. It's very easy to complain in London as it is to provide commendations, and we do get quite a few. So we can understand where our passengers' frustrations are. Safety is important for everybody, and we need to make, looking at GreenRoad, looking at harsh braking, harsh accelerating, all feeds into that customer experience. Customers expect, like we all do if we're traveling by plane, train, we want to arrive safely. We want the bus to be clean. We want it to be on time or prompt or within the time frame. We want a nice, comfortable drive and get to the end of our journey. And so that is the customer experience. And doing that, as I said right in the beginning, safe and legal, making sure our drivers are properly trained on all aspects of the bus and the route, letting them know where the risks are, where have we had accidents before, where are the hazards, what are we learning from little accidents we've had. It might be there's a takeaway shop, and in the evening there's like 30 motorbikes out there ready to rush the next sandwich down 2 miles.
Next lukewarm sandwich.
Yeah. So there's a lot going on in London, and I think the other thing we need to look at is lighting. The nights get darker, and the roads. We've had some rain recently, and people need to. People are in a rush. They're not looking down at their footing. They're not. They just want to get on the bus as quick as they can. There'll be six people rushing for some empty seat that someone's just left, and everything else goes out the way. There's pushing, shoving, and people get on a bus. Most of the buses are end of journey, and so they will come on the lower deck on a double deck bus, and they will stand by the doors because they're getting off in 2 or 3 stops. Well, if 50 passengers all want to stand by the rear doors because they're getting off into, it creates issues for the drivers.
Yeah.
And then they TfL say you must make sure that the front is so you can see the windows and all that. But if you pull up at a bus stop and 50 people are all getting onto your bus, they're not worried about whether you can see out the door or not.
Yeah, just want to get home.
They just want to get home to their next thing. So there's a lot of rules in place, a lot of good practice, and that we share with our drivers about route profiling and where the risks are and the hazards, and that generally aids good performance.
Going back to the sort of element of, you touched on it before about driver privacy. So I know that you use GreenRoad in a sort of proactive coaching tool way, and it's a great source of information for you. How do you people are sometimes naturally suspicious about what's going to happen to their data, and particularly with GDPR regulations in Europe and everything like that. How do you balance that? The need to derive good quality safety information while they're at work, whilst also protecting the driver's privacy.
So going back to my first statement, it has to be safe and legal. Legal GDPR, and I work for a French company, and the French laws on GDPR and data are very, very strict. And you'll know from the to-ing and fro-ing between our legal departments on what we could show and what we couldn't show. We're a completely different level. But we got it to a place now where drivers can see they're individually scored. They're not posted on the wall because luckily we've got electronic engagement through Blink, and through Blink they can go into the GreenRoad. They can see their scores, and we nearly had a point where it was going to go dear 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for employee number. I think we managed to get around that. So
I
yes,
think you've struck a really nice balance there. Actually, it's very good.
so by doing it through a permissions-based app, we're able to pass that information to the person that needs to see it, rather than what we used to do in the past. We would post up a list of this is your week's score. You find your name and look at the score, but you could also see what Joe Bloggs was doing, or Doris was doing on that, and you're going to go, oh, Doris, I see you're driving like a lunatic now, and all like that. It did create some friendly banter, but I do like the personal touch. But as I said, walking through the canteen and they're showing each other their scores, and if they get a single digit score, well, you can't stop them. Mr. Wood, Mr. Wood, what is it? So it's good to see that pride anyway. I think if you're doing well and you get rewarded for it, it's a good place to be.
Okay. And where do you sort of see driver safety in 3 to 5 years? Does RATP Dev have like a sort of long-term vision of sort of evolution of where you see driver safety in the future?
So I think expanding on like a driver profiling, making that toolbox smarter, making sure that the information we're getting is relevant and dumping data that we don't really need or can't use, trying to put it into a single source, trying to find. So when we look at software upgrades now, we're not looking about what we need now, we're trying to future proof what we're doing. So we're looking at, if we do, it's a bit like you do a nice spreadsheet and you look at the spreadsheet and you go, oh, that's really good. But if I had these columns in here and it done a little sum in, and I'm no good at Excel, but you do a little sum there, you put this in there and it works everything out for you. It's that software's a little bit like that. And it was interesting in Expo, I see different companies with little pieces of the jigsaw. No one had the whole jigsaw. And I think in 3 or 4 years' time, one of these companies or some software developers or someone who's in university now is going to come out and go, I've got an idea here. I can get these bits of information, put them into Toolbox, and send Nigel that email and go, this is the driver you need to speak to today.
Just as a final question, look, thank you so much today. I think honestly, the insight you've given with all your experience and your current role has been amazing. If there is someone out there in the world who actually thinks I would quite like to, as part of my career, be a COO of a major operator, what's the one piece of advice you think you'd give them across from, based on your experience, if someone's junior sat out there thinking one day I'd like to be a senior person in a big operator, what piece of advice would you give them?
So I think it's important for people to know their level. We have a lot of people that want to go up, and I never forget. When I first went into my garage, my home garage. It was an old-fashioned LT building, and it had a lovely wooden door with garage manager written on it. And I looked at that door. I do like a bit of architecture and everything, but I looked at that door and I thought, I'd like to be there one day. I'd love to be the garage manager. So that was my ambition.
Yeah,
And then as I progressed, I had a bit of imposter syndrome sometimes. I went into another level. My English wasn't very good back in the day, but luckily Microsoft bought out spell check, and we had a lot of template letters. And so gradually, as I worked my way through the business at different levels, I gained experience, I gained knowledge, and knowledge and experience are valuable. And I think it's about also challenging. Don't be afraid to challenge what's in front of you. You know, if it looks pink and it's coloured pink, it's definitely pink. But if you see something that a manager says you need to go and discipline this driver and he needs a written warning, if you go and do that, then you're not thinking for yourself and you're not making your own decisions. And I always respected my managers because I said, well, you've listened to all the evidence. And as you've listened to all the evidence, you've come to the right outcome because that's your decision. CEO can be a lonely job, but I've got a good managing director and I've got a good director team. And we work really well together. And I think that's very important. So there's nothing to stop anyone becoming part of that team.
well, Nigel, thank you very much. It's been a truly great experience, and I'm really, really grateful. You've given us so much brilliant examples, and they're giving us so much knowledge. I'm sure so many people will benefit. Um, what we're going to do now is turn over to the floor, and we would very much welcome and encourage people to ask questions, and we'll get through as many of those questions as we can. So thank you very much.
No, my pleasure. My pleasure. I've enjoyed the chat.
So let's see what questions we have from the audience. The first one, happy to report, is a very easy answer. Somebody's asked from the floor, will this recording be made available after the recording? The answer is absolutely yes. And thank you. Great question. So let's have a look. Okay. Oh, Nigel, here we go. How do you collect feedback from drivers regarding safety practice? Actually, they've put a kind of a two-part question. How do you collect feedback from drivers regarding safety practices? And have any of the driver suggestions led to meaningful improvements in safety?
So we have a number of ways of communicating and engaging with our drivers. We've still got pen and paper, the old-fashioned way, and they can use a memo suggestion box. In the output, we also use Blink as an engagement tool, and it enables them to submit memos that way. We have regular health and safety meetings, and via their trade union representative, we discuss all options. Driver feedback and interviews from, we're talking about GreenRoad today, so driver feedback about their scores, and obviously suggestions that actually that particular route or is creating an issue, and we can go through that, look at risk assessments. So we manage that quite well.
Okay. And oh, I recognise that name. Yeah, somebody from one of our customers in Australia. Blimey, they're up late. How do you stay informed about best practices in fleet safety?
So I do get a lot of messages, like most senior managers in the company. We get lots of messages about, and through LinkedIn, a number of requests come. You need to look at this. You need to do that. So we do meet with them. We do talk with them, or we do Teams calls with them. We listen to what the detail behind what they're showing us, and if we need to do that improvement, we will. But also in London, we have what we call the bus safety standard, and there's a team within TfL that are looking at everything safety related around buses and the journeys. And there's a lot of trials going on within London to improve the experience and improve driver safety within London.
Well, that neatly leads us on to another question that somebody's asked about the conversion from the driving school. Do you have a minimum number of hours wheel time before new starters are released from the driving school to depot, or is it pass and release?
No, so obviously it's all staged. I think I alluded to earlier, I was really rubbish at route learning. So I think everyone's different, and it's our job to measure those people. We're putting people out on a bus. We're picking up loads of passengers, driving many out in London. And I think it's the responsibility of management and obviously the director team giving direction that we ensure that each individual person is assessed at various stages. So you pass your test, you come to the garage, we'll make you a bus driver. Everyone's different. That initial assessment should pick up which route that we put them on, and what sort of training we give them to do that. It's an investment. Why would you not do that investment? So I think very good question. But I think if you can do within your teams, individually assess people to make sure that you can't tailor a package that everyone fits into.
Okay, thanks. Another question that's come from the floor here. Can you expand on the engagement with staff and the trade unions to implement the GreenRoad technology? I think, to be honest, you've kind of said quite a lot about this already, but I think it'd be really, really good to sort of talk a little bit more about the trade unions directly half of that particular questions. Was there anything you did particularly with the trade unions to implement GreenRoad?
I think everyone in our business needs to be on a journey. Change, obviously, just the word of it. But I think anything that can benefit the driver, enable safer driving for them, it's an investment for the business. So we're investing in the business, we're investing in drivers. And we don't use it as a discipline tool. This is all about coaching and mentoring and getting the best out of staff. And so everybody goes on that journey, and so we get the initial change. This is change. This is what's happening. This is a new piece of software. We're looking at it from a positive standpoint because obviously we've gone out and invested in the product, and then ensuring that the trade union and the drivers actually understand it's a tool that can benefit them. Obviously, it improves the business, but if it provides coaching, I'll go back to my earlier answer about individuals. So every individual needs a bit of coaching and mentoring along the way. So it's an easy win, but I think consultation and proper communication with the trade union is the way to advance it.
Okay. And another one here. Do you benchmark your fleet's safety performance against industry standards or other organizations?
I think, well, being in the TfL market, there is a data set there that we can, it's the SPI, Safety Performance Index. I like to say the
Yeah,
acronym
yeah,
first to get that. And so therefore that benchmarks us against other operators. And so we're always looking to improve that score, which gives us driver stats against other operators in London.
Okay. Let's see, there's another one coming in here. Okay. Oh, this is a good one. How do you track changes in driver behavior over time?
So obviously driver profiling and looking at score, we need to get better at that. I'm not saying we're perfect at that, but we get a lot of data, and it goes back to my earlier answer about how we collect this data and use it, and make sure. So we're not as good as we need to be, but we're working on a set of stats at the moment, looking at the KPIs that add value to what we're trying to do and ensuring that thing. So that's sort of work in progress. But I think it's critical that you get all the data you need to give you the outcomes you need and put that in a sort of form that addresses that.
Okay. Nigel, thank you very, very much again for your time today. It's been extremely informative, and wherever you are in the world watching this, thank you very much for dialing in. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. And Nigel, thanks very much for being very, very generous with your answers and your time and experience. That's been extremely useful. So thank you very much.
My pleasure, Richard. Thank you.
Thanks.